world. We are school psychos. I'm Mr. G.
I'm Mr. Z.
This is episode 3 of Under the Covers. Where we are going to look at some album cover art and treat it as a personality assessment. We're going to be looking at 3 things. We're going to be looking at placement, we're going to be looking at size of the drawing, and we're going to be looking at body parts. But before we jump into that, we got a real quick disclaimer so we don't get sued. So here it is. And we're back. Mr. Z, what do you have for us today?
So today we're going to be looking at a release by Marilyn Manson called Lest We Forget, The Best Of, which was released in 2004 on Interscope Records. It is a greatest hits album, and I believe Marilyn Manson himself was the artist behind the album art.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. The original artwork title is called Experience is a Mistress of Fools.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So I guess in a way we're kind of giving Marilyn Manson his own little faux assessment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Non-diagnostic, of course.
Yes, yeah. This is all for entertainment, so don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
But, okay, did you want to start us off?
Yeah, so, placement, number one thing we're going to be talking about today. Mm-hmm. So, I noticed, on the album version of this, it appears to be to the left side. So this, Marilyn Manson, throughout his career has been a figure of controversy, and so just this placement alone is kind of consistent with that because it suggests acting out. I also saw a theme of maybe someone who's self-oriented too, like he's a rock star. Rock stars got big egos. That might be a consistency there, but and going back to the original though, when I looked it up, it appeared to be more centered. So I mean, for all intents and purposes, looking at this, I was looking at it as it is on the album, which is to the left. But what about you, Mr. G? Did you have any thoughts about the placement?
I did. Like you said, I did see it being to the left, so suggestive of impulsivity. Mm-hmm. But then I also looked at it we got this whole, it's covering the whole page, and so I kind of interpreted it as it's reaching those different areas of the page. So I went into, it's up in the upper left corner. And so if something pulls to the upper left corner, it can speak to insecurity.
Okay.
But I also, it's also in the bottom, I think it's in the bottom corner. As you kind of see it going down to the neck, down onto what appear to be trees or something. Which it could also be considered deep feelings of insecurity. And then also it being on the bottom edge of the paper, having a need for support. So that's kind of where I took all the placement. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally just looked at it only as being to the left side, because it goes sort of across from one edge to the next. I sort of just looked at it just left altogether, but that's really interesting. I'd be curious to see if there's any connections between how you saw the placement and perhaps other things we'll be noticing when looking at this further. So, yeah.
So with that being said, I guess we can move on to the size, our second kind of point for this drawing. Do you mind if I start us?
No, go for it. Yeah.
So we can see it's a rather large head. This large head could be suggestive of being aggressive or acting out. I also considered the top of his head. It has a bit of a bizarre detail, which could be suggestive of psychosis or disorganization. What do you think?
Interesting. I do agree with the aggression. I was looking at not only just the size of the head, but the size of the drawing itself. It is large, and so those are features often associated with aggression. Acting out as well, and going back to the placement, placement to the left is also consistent with acting out, so to speak. So, other than that, like you commented about bizarre detail, which is interesting too. And what were you looking at in that? The
horns.
The horns. That's what I thought. Okay.
At the top of the head.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't pick up on that, even though like I noticed the horns, but I never thought to. I was like, what does that mean? And so, yeah, I guess I appreciate that you were kind of looking for that too.
Well, yeah, because I get what you're saying. It's like this is album cover art, and so it's like it's Marilyn Manson. You know, what's his kind of shtick of his music? You know, like, or any type of like metal stuff. You know, like devil horns. So it's like in that context, it's kind of typical. Like you're a fan of like metal music and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So that in that context, that's appropriate.
Oh yeah.
But you know, us using our lens of school psychology as if a student had drawn this, then it's like, oh, that's a bizarre detail of the horns.
Right, and it might be, you know, conscious or unconscious way of trying to portray that. Like maybe that was by design. Kind of expressing that in one way or another, so through bizarre details like that. So yeah,
so moving on, we'll move on to body parts. I know we're kind of limited to what body parts we're working with here, but would you care to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, going back, we're seeing a head, right? So I was looking at the size of the head. Again, like I said before, represents aggression. The hair too, I didn't really see much going on with the hair. I didn't know if the horns added to or it took away from the hair in any way. Like if they do add to the hair, I'm wondering if there are other themes associated with a sensual nature, which dropping even lower, the lips, like there's full lips here, which is consistent with sensual nature as well. So eyes though, that was tricky for me, because I see many things going on with the eyes. I see empty eyes in a way that might represent somebody who's self-absorbed. I see what looks like one empty eye and one wide eye, so that might be someone who's introverted yet hysterical at the same time. And if I were to take it a step further with that introversion, sprinkle a little color theory in there.
Oh,
yeah,
please do.
Yeah, man. So there's some blue. There's like a bluish tinge to the face, and that again is consistent with introversion. So, yeah, but yeah, did you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, so kind of going off of what you're saying, I did notice the hair. You know, first I looked at it, I'm like, is this hair in disarray? And I'm like thinking, no, for me personally, if I were to have this haircut, I would have a bad haircut. I couldn't pull this off. But I wouldn't say this hair is in disarray. But you went on talking about the eyes.
Yeah.
But even before the eyes, I want to bring us up a little bit.
Okay.
To the lack thereof, eyebrows. So we know that elaborated eyebrows would be indicative of a critical attitude.
Right.
But what does it mean to have no eyebrows? Does it mean to have an easygoing attitude? Or is it to like have no opinion? Is it to have no voice of your own?
That's interesting, because like, and also is that an omission? Like, is there like a denial of that critical attitude or a desire to repress a critical attitude perhaps? So yeah, I didn't think of that, but until just now. So the interesting point you brought up, just bringing attention to the lack of eyebrows in that. So
yeah. His eyes though, I do agree with the reinforced eyes, which can also mean like, you know, being suspicious or anxiety. The nose is a nose, but as you point out with the color theory, that blue being peppered in there, you said it can be indicative of introversion.
Introversion, yeah.
And yeah, so the mouth for me, I hear what you said about having full lips, kind of being of a sensual nature.
Yeah.
But then when I was looking at the mouth, I realized I really only saw half of a mouth.
Yeah.
You know, it's in complete darkness, which to me, if the mouth is emphasized, which I consider half of the mouth to be emphasized, as you point, like kind of, we're saying the same thing but differently. I'm saying emphasized, you're saying full lips. If it's emphasized, that can point towards speech problems. So maybe like half speech problems. And then it being half omitted, it could be half reluctance to communicate. So, and if you have someone who has speech problems, they'd be reluctant to communicate, so they can kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, if that's a part of Marilyn Manson's background, though, but I see there's a lot of, like, conflicting messages what we're seeing here, which Marilyn Manson seems to be an individual who is at least interested in, like, the dichotomy of things or the duality of things. Like we touched on the introversion with the blue and like going just to the eyes. Like there's one that looks like it's like omitted in a way, and that can represent introversion going hand in hand with the blue. But also there's a lot of red in this picture, which represents extroversion. So like there's a part of him that's introverted, yet this other part that he presents to the world that's very outgoing and extroverted. So, and also, if I were to go a little deeper into that eye, when you're looking at it, it's to the left. There's a little bit of green in there, and that can mean a few different things, such as possessiveness, defensiveness, or passiveness. So it's like, it's hard to say which one or the other, but if it's like a passiveness, I can maybe see that connecting to introversion. In a way, it's over that same eye, though, where it's like there's some introversion going on. So I don't know, like, yeah,
I mean, we got a whole lot of different themes playing here, kind of combating each other. As a school psychologist, if this was a drawing that we were dealing with, we would, like, as we've said in other of our videos, we'd be pulling from other resources that we've kind of evaluated a student with to see what matches up, to kind of thin this out. But since we're working off the cuff with just a picture, it's kind of whatever we kind of feel like it being. So yeah, there's a lot at play here.
Yeah, for sure.
If I could now direct us to the neck and further below where there is nothing. You know, we know no arms could be feelings of guilt. No fingers could be difficulty in relationships. No legs could be lack of autonomy. Did you have something else?
No, I saw the same things. Like, I noted the omissions of the arms and the fingers going hand in hand with the difficulty with relationships.
Hand in hand?
Hey, you got it. Yeah. No pun intended, but difficulty in relationships and guilt, perhaps inadequacy going, you know, hand in hand again with what you were saying about the omission of feet, like inadequacy, with the autonomy thing too. There might be a connection there as well, and withdrawal tendencies. So yeah, I saw similar things with the omissions.
Yeah. I guess all else I had, we talked about it already, but there being a lot of shading and blackening, which could be anxiety or depression. It's just kind of bleeding into it. And also, as we've noted, all these different, you know, many body parts below the neck are gone, which could also be denial or depression. And then the last thing I noticed was we have, what I understand, we have edging happening here, where, you know, we're all along like the edge of the page from the neck area, which could speak to a need for structure
as
well.
All right.
And you know, we've said like, oh, there's impulsivity here, there's lack of autonomy. You know, if this was a student, you know, they would be feeling like they don't have any independence, they just want to run wild. But you know, what happens when a kid runs wild? They kind of seek out structure.
Right. Well said.
But I think those were all of the thoughts I had on lest we forget the best of Marilyn Manson.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. So, yeah, if you made it this far, thank you again for watching this. Anything else, or?
Yeah, definitely let us know if you saw something that we missed or that you have a question about. And if you have an album cover art that you want analyzed by the school psychos, you know what to do. Comment down below. Let us know. And bye.